He was lying on the floor. One arm was stuck under his back. The other arm was just lying there. A thin line of blood came from his mouth and touched the shiny wood under his face. A phone camera was recording it all, but the video was shaky. The person holding the phone was scared. The bright lights above made the camera flash. People online started typing comments, fire emojis, laughing faces. Someone wrote, "R.I.P. Soft Kung Fu." The words floated over Jason's body like a sign. He didn't move. Milo, the boy with the phone, was whispering. He wasn't saying real words, just little gasps and broken sentences. He knew something big had just happened. He was watching something that would be remembered. It all started a week ago. Jason Statham was quiet and kind. He came back to Chinatown. He didn't want to be famous again. He just wanted to open the kung fu school his dad used to run. The school was between two closed shops. One sold herbs, the other tea. The door still had the same old handle. It felt warm and smooth. Inside, it smelled like old wood and something nice, like incense. He didn't make a website. No Facebook, no Google reviews. He just put up a hand-painted sign that said, "Wing Chun for the Chinese soul." For students came to the first class. 2 little kids came after school because their parents made them. 1 teenage girl came. She used to dance but said her feet didn't trust the ground anymore. And 1 boy named Will, who was 17. He asked if he could film the class for his notes. Jason said no. Jason moved slowly when he taught. He didn't count how many times they hit. He didn't shout. He just showed them how to stand. How to keep their weight balanced. How to look straight when someone big stepped forward. If they did something wrong, he didn't speak. He would just move their elbow or press their wrist gently. Then step back. He never gave long speeches. But that quiet didn't last long. On the 3rd day after class, Will was cleaning the floor and looking at TikTok. He laughed and showed Jason a video. "Master," he said, "they say your style looks like slow old man dancing." Jason looked up once. Then he went back to fixing the wooden dummy near the window. That was all. But it was enough. The next morning, the doorbell rang early. Jason thought it was one of the kids. But it wasn't. A tall man stood there. He was bigger than the doorway. He wore a black hoodie. He had a little beard, braided at the chin. His face was half in shadow. Jason didn't say anything. But his eyes said a lot. The man's name was Kai Moreno. People online called him Switch. He used to learn here, long ago. Then he quit. Then he became an MMA fighter. Now, he is famous on the internet. He made videos where he showed that some teachers were fake. He had lights, catchphrases, and a big online following. Sometimes hundreds of thousands watched him live. He walked in and looked around like the place was small. "It still smells like incense," he said. "Thought maybe you had cameras now." Jason stood in the same spot he always did. Behind the welcome mat. Hands folded. "You teach here again?" Switch asked. "I offer what was given to me," Jason said. "That's all." Switch looked at the wall scrolls and the old wooden dummy. "Cool. I'll sign up," he said. He said it like a joke, but he smiled like a movie star. That kind of smile people trust, even when they shouldn't. Milo joined 2 hours later. The first video was online by Sunday. It showed Switch punching fast. The title said, "Day 1, let's see if this soft stuff works." That night, 300,000 people watched it. The next day, students kept looking at their phones. One asked if they could spar, that means fight for practice. One stared at the wooden dummy like it was junk. One never came back. Jason didn't watch the videos. But he noticed when people stopped looking him in the eyes. Then came tonight. The live stream had a title. "Exposing My Old Master Live." Milo held the phone like a trophy. Switch stood in the center of the studio. He stretched his arms. He had a tiny mic. His smile was perfect. Jason stood across from him. Not as a fighter. Not even as a teacher. Just as a man who never gave up. Then came the strike. Then the throw. Then the blood. Then the laugh. But, right before Switch turned to the camera, Before the people online typed laughing emojis and flames, Jason's fingers moved just a little against the floor. Not much. Just a little. But it was enough. His real name was Kai Moreno. But online, he was just Switch. Half Chinese. Half Puerto Rican. All about likes and clicks. He walked like he knew people were always watching. His shoulders were back. His chin up, like he was always in a picture. He talked like he was in a show. He smiled like a friend, right before hurting someone with his words. But he didn't start online. He started on a Tuesday night in the Bronx. He was 15. His hair was too long. His shirt sleeves are too short. He had just left Jason's father's school. He still wore slippers. He bowed at the door on his way out. 3 older boys stopped him. One asked, "What's Kung Fu gonna do against real punches?" Kai tried to answer. He said things like centerline and redirect. But when one grabbed his shirt and pushed him into a wall, everything he learned didn't help. He hit back with Kung Fu punches. They landed, but not hard enough. One boy laughed, then punched him in the mouth. Blood went on his shirt, the sidewalk, and in his teeth. That night, his father saw the bruises. He didn't speak for a while. Then he said one thing. Not angry, just quiet. If what you learn can't protect you, don't call it martial arts. Kai never went back. He didn't tell Jason. He just disappeared. He felt like a student who failed. And he chose to stay away, in shame. He started boxing at a rec center. Then Muay Thai. A coach told him, "You hit like you're sorry." So he trained harder. At 17, he was in underground fights. At 20, small MMA matches. He won some. Got cuts that never healed. Then came the pandemic. No more fights. Gyms closed. But the internet stayed open. Someone posted a clip of him beating up a park trainer. The title said, "MMA fighter stops fake teacher." It went viral. 2 million views. Then 5 million. The comments called him a hero, a myth buster, a fake master destroyer. He liked that. He became Switch. A brand. He visited other dojos with cameras. He offered $500 if the teacher could land a hit on him. He called it the tradition test. Most said no. Some said yes. None looked good on video. He knew how to edit. How to add music. How to freeze the video to make fear look big. Now, he is back. In the same studio. The same scrolls. The same smell. The same teacher, older, thinner, still barefoot. This wasn't about respect. It was about something unfinished. Milo held the camera. The Switch didn't warm up. He rolled his neck. He grinned. "Let's see if it works, master," he said. Loud enough for the mic. Soft enough to sound cool. People were already filling the comments with fire emojis. Jason didn't move. He just looked at Switch. He didn't look mad. He didn't look like he missed him. He was just still. Not moving. Fighting and showing off are not the same thing. Switch laughed a little. "Maybe," he said, "but showing off gets me more attention." He stayed for class. Not for 1 day. Not 2. A whole week. He practiced next to the students. The students whispered about him. Some took secret pictures. They watched both Switch and Jason like something big was going to happen. Switch acted cool. He did the drills. He helped others fix their moves. He asked kind questions. He filmed himself practicing after class. He never said anything mean about Jason. But every night, he posted a new video. It wasn't filmed inside the school. It was filmed outside. It looked fancy, with music and words on the screen. The words said things like, "Day 2, still no fight. Day 4, this feels more like sitting still than learning to fight. Day 6, he won't even touch me." Lots of people watched the videos. More and more. Even the students felt nervous. One student asked Jason after class, "Are we learning real stuff?" Another student stopped coming to class. Jason didn't say anything. But Switch noticed small things. Jason touched the wooden practice dummy a little longer. He stood still a bit more before class. He looked at the picture of his dad by the little altar like he was asking a question, but didn't think he'd get an answer. Then, on the 7th day, Switch stood in the middle of the mat. He didn't yell. He didn't sound mad. He just said, "Let's finish this. No tricks. No fancy stuff. Just you and me." Milo, the boy who helped with the camera, lifted his phone. Jason nodded once. Then he walked to the corner of the room and fixed the incense burner. Some fights don't need loud words. Some hurts don't show until someone touches them. Switch didn't come to find the truth. He came to end something that had started a long time ago when he was 15. Now, the whole world was watching. Then there was a sound. The sound of an elbow breaking a brick. It sounded like a firecracker at a funeral. One hit. No warm-up. No waiting. Switch knelt next to a stack of bricks. He tapped it once with his hand. Then he brought his elbow down fast. The brick broke right down the middle. He looked at the camera and smiled. Some people said maybe the bricks were weak. Milo zoomed in the camera, as if to say, "Nope. This is real." By the next morning, the video had over 4 million views. A famous fighting expert posted a reaction video. He called it the moment old school training died. People online wrote all kinds of things. Some said it was cool. Some said it was sharp. Some laughed at the wooden dummy. Some called Jason out by name. Someone made a silly picture. They put Jason's face on a ghost. It said, "When your teacher can't teach real stuff." At the studio, no one said anything about the video. But everything felt different. One student kept checking their phone during class. Another student missed 2 classes. 3 days after the brick video, Will, one of Jason's first students, asked him quietly, "Master, are we wasting our time?" Jason didn't answer right away. He looked at Will's feet. They weren't in the right place. Left foot too far forward. Jason knelt down, fixed Will's feet gently, and stood up. He said, "Not if you're here." But it didn't feel the same anymore. That night, Switch went live again. He wasn't in the studio. He was on a rooftop near Chinatown. You could see the lights below. The wind made his mic scratchy. He held up an old photo. It was faded. It showed teenage Switch, sweaty and smiling, standing next to a younger Jason. Both barefoot. Both wearing uniforms. Jason's hand was on Switch's shoulder. Words on the screen said, "The man who taught me silence, but not how to win." Switch didn't yell. He talked softly, like remembering something. He told a story about a night in the Bronx. About hitting a wall. About blood. About being ashamed. About how his dad looked at him like he was invisible. About how Jason never came looking for him after that. He ended the video without asking people to like or follow. But people still shared it thousands of times before midnight. At the studio, Jason trained alone. The next morning, he moved slower. His steps were sharp, but he was breathing harder. No one noticed. He made sure of that. He stood in front of the wooden dummy for a long time. He placed his hand on it, like he was asking if it still remembered what it was for. The room was quiet, but it didn't feel calm. He went to the altar. I looked at his father's picture in the red frame. Lit the incense. Bowed. Then, for the first time since he reopened the school, he sat in the middle of the floor and didn't say a word. For 1 whole hour. Outside, phones kept buzzing. The world kept spinning. But inside, the silence felt like it might break. That afternoon, 2 more students didn't come. One of them left a little folded note at the door. It said, "Thank you, but I need something more." Switch saw it, of course. He didn't make fun of it. Not out loud. But the next video he posted showed him hitting a big punching bag at a gym in Brooklyn. He didn't write anything under it. He just punched. Kicked. Showed power. There was a slow-motion part where his kick bent the chain holding the bag. He looked at the camera and nodded once. The message was clear. Look at me. Then look at what they're teaching you. People liked it fast. That night, Jason turned off the studio lights early. He sat alone for a while, just breathing. His hand went to his chest, like trying to hold something inside that wanted to run away. His father once told him, "If you can stay calm when they yell, then it's real. But no one had ever told him what to do when the yelling was louder than the lesson. The next morning, someone spray-painted the door of the studio. It said, "Soft won't save you." Jason didn't paint over it. He left it there. Not because he agreed with it, but because he wanted to see who would still come in anyway. 3 people came. 5 didn't. Still, he taught. But he stood differently. Spoke differently. Not louder. Not angry. Just heavier. Like every move now had to mean twice as much, because there was doubt in the room. In the back corner, Milo set up a new camera stand. No one asked who said it was okay. No one stopped him. That evening, Switch came back. He took off his shoes. Stepped on the mat. He looked calm. Too calm. Like he was sure he would win. Jason nodded. Class started. No one smiled. Then, the announcement popped up. No warning. No trailer. Just a black screen with white letters on all of Switch's pages. Tonight, we will finish it. Live. No script. That was all it said. But it didn't need more. By 6 o'clock, there were bright lights in the studio. Milo had a camera on a moving stick by the door. 2 other camera people walked around, checking cameras, getting close-ups and wide shots. One person even put a GoPro camera on a ceiling fan, just in case. No one talked about what was happening. They acted like it was normal. Like tradition didn't matter. Like the silence in the room hadn't been there for years. They cleaned the mats. Turned off background noise. Moved everything out of the way. Only a wooden bench and a water bottle sat on the mat, not quite in the middle. That was on purpose. Nothing in Switch's world happened by accident. At 6:43 p.m., the chat room for the live video was full of comments. Over 40,000 people were waiting before anyone hit start. Switch walked in first. He wore a black top with no sleeves, fight shorts, and his wrists were wrapped tight. He walked like this was just a game. Like it was easy. The people in the room didn't cheer, but they filled the space with their quiet. Milo gave small directions behind the main camera. Another phone went live on TikTok. The air smelled like old sweat and warm cameras. In the back corner, 3 of Jason's oldest students sat up straight. They didn't hold phones. They didn't talk. One of them, a girl who hadn't trained in weeks, held her hands together like she was praying. Jason hadn't come yet. Back in the small changing room, he stood alone in front of the mirror. It was the same old mirror that had been there since his father's time. He wasn't wearing a uniform. No belt. Just a gray t-shirt that had faded and black pants that were thin at the knees. His breathing was steady, but not relaxed. He moved carefully, not scared, just focused. He reached up and fixed a small picture frame on the shelf above the sink. The frame was old. The glass had scratches. Inside was a black and white photo of his father. His father stood in a pose, arms out, eyes serious and strong. Below the photo, there was a sentence written in Chinese ink. It was starting to fade. It said, "The one who loses quietly may be the only one who wins." Jason touched the photo gently. Then he bowed. He walked into the studio like he did every day. There was no music. No one clapped. A man named Switch looked at him and gave a silly salute, like a joke, then went back to warming up. Jason walked to a special table, lit a stick of incense, and placed it in a bowl. He didn't look at the cameras. He didn't look at the crowd or at Milo. He looked only at the floor and the mat, like he was asking if it was okay to begin. Then he turned around. The number of people watching the live video was now 87,000. Switch rolled his shoulders and smiled. "So what are the rules, Master?" he asked. Jason didn't say anything. Switch laughed. "Right. No rules. Just a memory." Milo whispered something to his team. One camera moved in slowly. Another stayed still, showing a wide view. No cuts. Then they started. Jason's hands were low. His palms were open. His elbows stayed close to his body. He moved slowly, always keeping the same foot forward. It was a Wing Chun style. The way he moved looked small, but he did it on purpose. Switch bounced on his feet, changing his stance, testing the space. His moves were fast, but not full speed at first. He threw jabs and light kicks, trying to see how Jason reacted. Jason didn't hit back. He just shifted his weight, blocked gently, and moved the energy away. He didn't fight back with power. It looked like a dance, a slow one that might confuse someone who doesn't want to wait. People watching on the live stream started typing comments. Why isn't he hitting? Come on, Jason. Hit back. Switch moved in faster. He threw a hook, pulled back, kicked low, then turned. Still, no hits landed. Jason moved with him, barely touching, but always in the right place. But Switch was younger, stronger, and quicker. The speed started to go up. He pushed harder. Jason kept stepping back, once, twice. He spun and faked, then stomped his foot, tricking Jason. Jason moved back. His heel almost touched the incense bowl. Then, it happened. Switch faked a low move, dropped suddenly, and grabbed Jason around the waist with both arms. He lifted Jason up fast, and slammed him down to the mat. Everyone gasped. Jason hit the ground hard. It wasn't just a trip. It was a big fall. His shoulder hit first, then his hip, then the back of his head. It made a soft but scary sound. He didn't scream. But he didn't move either. Switch stood over him. He wasn't breathing hard. He wasn't even sweating. Just watching. The bright lights showed the sweat on Jason's face. The camera zoomed in on the blood coming from his lip, down his neck. Milo, behind the camera, whispered, "We got it. We got the fall." The chat blew up. KO. He's done. Wing Chun is dead. Switch didn't cheer. He stepped back, lifted both hands, and looked at the camera like he was waiting for someone to say something. No one did. Jason was still lying on the floor. And for one hard second, nobody helped him. Not even his own students. They just watched. Because sometimes, silence feels heavy, like it's about to break. Switch looked at the crowd. The corners of his mouth lifted a little, not a smile, more like he was thinking. He didn't raise his arms. He didn't yell. But he knew what had happened. The quiet in the room wasn't surprising. It was everyone giving up. The old master lay still. The room was silent. The live stream kept getting more views, 102,000, then 104,300. Then, a sound. The kitchen door opened. It wasn't loud. It wasn't fast. Just a soft creak of the hinge. A small sound, but because of the timing, everyone noticed. Smoke slipped into the room. Not from incense. Thicker. It slid along the floor like something that had been there before. Someone stepped in. First came the boots. Old leather boots with mud still on them. Not martial arts shoes. Not gym shoes. Boots from another place, or another time. Then jeans. Old ones. Not ripped on purpose. Just worn out naturally. A denim jacket. Sleeves rolled up. A tear on one cuff. Then the face. It was hard to describe. Older, but not weak. Calm, but not far away. A face that didn't need permission to be seen. No music played. No name appeared. But someone in the back whispered, like a secret. "Wait, is that him?" The air in the room changed. Not heavier, just clearer. Like something important had arrived. Chuck Norris didn't walk like he was about to fight. He walked like he was walking through his house. Slow. Sure. Each step felt like it had already happened before. He didn't look at Switch. He looked at Jason, still on the ground. Then he gave a small nod. Not a command. Not a question. Just a sign that he understood. Milo froze behind the camera. His hands shook a little, but not because he was scared. He was confused. He lowered the camera. One of his teammates stepped back, without being told. No one said to stop filming, but they did. Chuck kept walking. Not toward Jason. Not toward the center. Just to the edge of the mat, like he was checking the space. He stood still. Said nothing. Switch laughed. But it didn't sound full. "What now? Are you calling for help from a cowboy movie?" No one answered. Switch looked at his crew. No one looked back. He turned to Jason, who finally moved. Just a little. One arm shifted. He took a deep breath. His eyes opened a bit, but he didn't get up. Chuck looked around. He didn't move, didn't blink. He wasn't there to fight. He was just ready. Jason pushed himself up to his knees. One hand pressed the mat, like he was trying to remember how it felt. Chuck nodded again, just for him. Then Jason did something surprising. He stepped back. A full step. Away from the center. He didn't say a word, but it meant something. He was leaving the space for Chuck. Chuck stepped forward. The room wasn't scared. It was full of memories. No one clapped. No one shouted. This wasn't a show anymore. Switch squinted. "Are you serious?" Still, no one answered. The room had picked something older than applause. Chuck's hand stayed down. He breathed slowly. His eyes didn't move. Milo lifted his phone again, then stopped. Not because someone said so, but because some moments don't belong online. They belong to people who are there. For the first time that night, Switch looked unsure. He looked at the lights, the cameras, the fans watching from screens. Then back at Chuck. And he realized, this wasn't a video anymore. This was real. The switch moved first. No bow. No signal. Just a fast jab to check the space. A leg kick to take control. He came in sharp, trained, confident. Chuck didn't panic. He blocked one hit, moved another aside. But you could see it, he was older. His shoulders didn't turn as fast. He took the hits instead of dodging them. His feet moved a little slower. Switch noticed. He pushed harder. A fake jab. A real kick low. Chuck flinched. His balance shifted. Then Switch faked a punch, ducked low, and grabbed Chuck around the hips. And with a strong twist of his legs, he lifted Chuck into the air. Chuck fell to the floor. The sound of his back hitting the mat was loud. One of Switch's friends laughed a little. Chuck looked like he was finished. Switch was on top of him, high and strong. His knees pushed down on Chuck's ribs. His right hand was in the air, not hitting, just waiting. It looked like he was posing for a picture. Over 100,000 people were watching live, waiting to see Chuck lose. Chuck didn't move. He just blinked one time. Then he shifted a little, not fast, not big, just a small move. His right foot slid under Switch's knee. Chuck's body got tight like a spring. Then, he spun to the side and slipped out. Switch's hand never touched him. Chuck didn't roll or jump. He just stood up slowly, like someone getting up from a quiet prayer. The room was silent again. Too quiet. Chuck took a small step back. His hands were low. His face didn't show anything. Switch let out a breath. Then another. He didn't smile. He jumped forward with a strong left punch toward Chuck's jaw. Chuck barely caught it, just brushing the wrist. Switch pulled back fast and turned his body, throwing a hard right punch, the kind that ends fights. Chuck didn't move away. He waited. The punch missed by just 1 inch. At that moment, Chuck twisted his back leg. His hip snapped, and his right leg swung in a smooth, perfect circle. It wasn't fast or fancy. It was just right. His kick hit Switch on the side of the head. Chuck didn't kick again. He didn't need to. The sound was quiet. Switch didn't fall hard. He just bent his knees, his back softened, and his head turned like it wanted to follow the kick. Then he dropped to the mat, like someone turned off a switch. No scream. No groan. Just a soft breath. Then stillness. Milo, the camera guy, slowly lowered his camera like he was leaving a special place. One of Switch's friends stepped back, then again. No one stopped him. Someone unplugged a phone that was charging. When Switch blinked again, everything felt different. He was still lying on the mat, looking up at the ceiling. But the ceiling looked far away now. Bigger. Chuck stood near, not over him, not staring, just standing. His eyes were calm. His breath was steady. Jason came forward. He didn't kneel or ask if Switch was okay. He just nodded once. Like ending a story that took too long. Switch sat up slowly. He touched his head, then his chest, then let his hand hang in the air. The room was so still that breathing felt loud. No one showed the kick again. No one clapped. Milo turned off the stream. Not because someone told him, but because some moments need quiet. Chuck turned around and walked away. The kitchen door was open a little. Smoke drifted in. He stepped into the smoke like it was fog. Then he was gone. No music played. No ending screen. No one said goodbye. Switch stayed sitting. He didn't stand. He didn't talk. He didn't even know what hurt more, the kick or the silence. People started leaving. Not angry. Not sad. Just quiet. They knew the truth wasn't in the fight. It was in what happened after. And no one was ready to talk about it. Switch sat for a long time. His legs folded under him. His arms rested by his sides. His head tilted, like he was listening to something no one else could hear. The room slowly emptied. No one said goodbye. No one gave him a hand. Even Milo packed up his gear without a sound and slipped out the back door, like leaving a church after hearing something you can't forget. Chuck was already gone. Jason had gone too, kneeling once before disappearing into the back hallway. He didn't look back. He didn't speak. Only the incense was left. Its smoke floated gently to the ceiling. Switch blinked, then blinked again. He touched his face. No blood. No bruises. No big marks. But his hands shook. He looked at them like they weren't his. The lights were still on but dimmer. One light was off. The others made a soft hum. The mat still felt warm, still smelled like hard work and sweat. But something was missing. Like someone took the heart out of the room. He looked at the tripod. The phone was still there. The screen was black. No red dot. No hearts or chat bubbles. Just one quiet message, no connection. Retry. He looked at it. His thumb floated over the screen. He could have tapped it. He could have started the stream again. But he didn't. He stood up, slowly. Not because he was hurt, but because he felt heavy. His legs felt too full. His back ached. Not from falling, but from something deeper. Like sadness had wrapped around him and didn't want to let go. He looked around. The walls were the same. The mats were the same. But the air felt different. He walked to the corner where his gym bag waited. He opened it. Took out a towel. Wiped his face. Not sweat, just the motion of wiping. Something that made sense, even if it didn't need to happen. Then he packed his things. Slowly. Carefully. He unplugged the backup battery from the phone. Folded the tripod. Zipped the bag. Carried it across the mat without a sound. At the door, he stopped. I looked back. The incense was gone. Just ashes. The smell was fading. He didn't bow. But he nodded. Then he left. That night, Switch shut down all his accounts. TikTok, Instagram, YouTube, Twitch, Twitter, everything. No post. No goodbye. Just gone. His channel stayed open for 3 more days. Then it went dark. People in the comments were confused. Where's the video? Why did he quit? Did something bad happen? Someone said the fight had been leaked. But no one had the clip. Milo didn't post it. The camera crew said nothing. And the people who saw it live didn't share what they saw. Because you can't make a clip of what happened. There was no music. No perfect shot. No speech. Just stillness. And stillness doesn't go viral. 3 weeks later, someone saw Switch in Columbus Park. Afternoon. On a bench under a tree. He sat alone. Hoodie on. Head down. Hands in his lap. His phone was next to him. Old. Off. Not recording. He didn't move. A pigeon landed near his foot. He stayed still. A kid on a scooter went past. He didn't turn. He just stared at the space in front of him. Like he was thinking about something deep inside. No one talked to him. No one bothered him. Someone took a photo from far away. Online, it got 5 likes. One comment said he looked tired. Another asked, "Is that really him?" But that was it. No big post. No story. No fame. Just stillness. And in that stillness, something true had grown. Some losses don't crash down. Some come like fog. Quiet. They wrap around you. They stay. Not because they break you, but because they show you who you are when no one is looking. Switch never streamed again. Not because he was scared, but because he didn't need to. When the noise is gone, and the screen is dark, and the fans forget your name, what's left is what stays in silence. And sometimes, silence is the loudest thing of all. Did you enjoy the story? I'd love to hear your thoughts. Share them in the comments below. If you had a great time, don't forget to hit subscribe and ring the bell so you're always in the loop for the next adventure. Thanks for joining me, and as always, stay curious, stay brave, and keep exploring.